Well, Tyler Anderson had his first start since surprisingly not being traded at the deadline, and unsurprisingly, the Angels offense did nothing to help him out tonight. We'll talk about another defeat, another no-show for this Angels offense on tonight's edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast right now.
You are Locked On Angels Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, Halo Nation. Hello, Halo hopefuls. Hello, Postcast people. And welcome to the latest edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast, coming at you live, as always, after every single Angels game here on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel, and after the fact, wherever you get the Locked On Angels podcast feed. If you don't know who I am, I'm Gavin Carlson. Spent 4 years as a credentialed journalist in the LA area, covering college sports, specifically at UCLA, and I am now, of course, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We had a fun day yesterday, not to be an Angels fan, honestly one of the worst days ever to be an Angels fan, with the obvious news of Mike Trout being done for the year once again, at a really brutal bad loss, but it was fun that we were on multiple Locked On YouTube channels yesterday, not just the Angels feed, not just the Los Angeles feed, but the national feeds on the Locked On MLB YouTube channel and the Locked On Sports Today YouTube channel. There were a lot of people in here, but I just got to say, don't be confused, don't feel slighted. I still appreciate all of you, my loyal viewers that are here every single day, my loyal listeners that hear me every single day. You are still the reason I do this show every single night, even when the Angels give me no reason to talk about this team. Because let's be honest, this was about as boring, as disappointing, as lifeless of an Angels game as you will see. The Angels fall 5-1 to the New York Mets in the series opener at the Big A against the New York Mets, and we knew that the Mets coming into this one, or at least I did, and people that were following the stats knew that the Mets are a really good road team, a great record on the road. I think the second highest batting average in the MLB on the road, hitting like 267 as a team or something on the road, which in 2024 is really good. So we knew the Mets offense was going to put up some runs, even against Tyler Anderson, who is usually pretty darn good. What we did not know is whether or not the Angels offense would show up, but we should have known that they wouldn't, because Tyler Anderson pitched. And when Tyler Anderson pitches, for the most part, in 2024, he pitches pretty well, and the offense does nothing. And today, another case of that. Tyler Anderson was not lights out by any means. Honestly, one of his weaker starts in recent memory, but still, you give up 3 runs in 5 innings. That's just an average start. Honestly, still technically a little below or above average, And never once did you feel like the Angels were in this game. Never once. And literally in like the 6th inning, maybe the 7th inning, the Angels just like stopped trying. Like obviously they didn't actually, but I mean, the body language and also the results would tell you that this team did stop trying, because only 6 hits today, all 6 singles. All 6 singles. We'll get to that in a bit, but no life in the last couple of innings, no ounce of comeback resilience in them, just a lifeless, disappointing performance, which we're honestly getting way too used to in 2024. Before we jump into tonight's show, where we'll talk about Tyler Anderson, we'll talk about another Luis Rengifo injury, and I say another, but just the same injury bothering him, just like the same injury seemed to bother everybody on the Angels. We'll talk about that. And of course, we'll start the show talking about the abysmal offensive performance. But before we jump into all of that, quick shout out to today's sponsor. Today's episode of the Locked On Angels Postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As playoffs wind down, the sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. And where we get started today is talking about the offense, because Blackburn here for the Mets, making his New York Mets debut, and you couldn't have picked a better team, a better stadium, a better anything to make your New York Mets debut than the Los Angeles Angels, right? I mean, just like we know at this point how bad this lineup is, and you don't need to like really use a big brain or any complex thinking to say this team's not going to do well. Brandon Drury is hitting 158. Joe Adell is hitting 194. Mickey Moniak, 215. We know all the bad numbers. We know them all. We know them all. And so, like I said in the intro, maybe we don't know how the Angels are going to play. We know that the Mets are going to do well offensively, but we should have known that this lineup was not going to do well because, A, they just stink. They plain right stink. But also, like we said, when Tyler Anderson pitches, they really, really stink. Like I said, just 6 hits, which already is not good. The goal should be to score 5 runs. That's been the magic number because the Angels pitching at the end of the day has been a lot better than the hitting. And when they score 5 runs, they usually win most of the time. So the goal was 5 runs. They had 6 hits. And not only is the 6 hits bad, not only were there only 2 walks in addition to that, so really not much action on the bases, but you know what else? If you go to MLB.com, if you go to the game day, the box score of this game, if you go to the summary, and if you control F and type in the word double, D-O-U-B-L-E, what comes up? Not a single double for the Angels because they had none. They had 6 singles. So not only does a double not come up in terms of a hit for the Angels, the only ones coming from the Mets, of course, but you do get matches. Why? Because there were 2 double plays by the Angels tonight. So you only have 6 hits, which is already, strike 1. All 6 of them are singles, which is strike 2. And then you have 2 double plays, Brandon Drury, Willie Calhoun, and you have a caught stealing at second base with Joe Adell. So everyone's only getting on first, as is. And unlike some teams that even with only 6 singles could find a way to get a sac bunt, to get a stolen base, to get some luck with some walks and some wild pitches, tonight, like many nights, it's literally single and nothing else. And this night, not only was it only singles, it was hurting yourself once you get a rare single. Double plays, caught stealing, lifeless. I mean, is Blackburn terrible? No. But is he amazing? No. He's got a 4.11 ERA after this performance where he gives up just 6 hits in 6 innings, 1 run earned, 2 walks. He also hit a guy, 6 strikeouts. So a good outing, certainly brought the ERA down, but it brought it down to 4.11. It's not stellar. It's a little below average, honestly. Tyler Anderson, meanwhile, he was a little worse. 5 innings pitched, 8 hits, 3 runs, all earned, 2 walks, and just 3 strikeouts. But his ERA is 3.05. 3.05, and he picks up another loss, and he's now 8-10 on the season. This guy's 8-10 despite a barely over and at many times under 3 ERA. It's shameful. So, it's just so disappointing. And I mean, literally this game, I listened to the radio broadcast, honestly, more than the TV broadcast. And I happened to hear them go into Trent Rush on the post-game radio show. And he literally talked about this game for like 90 seconds. Like, I'm not kidding. He literally talked about this game for 90 seconds, and then he pivoted. He started talking about the trade deadline, how the Angels got great prospects back, and then he started talking about, Christian Moore doing really good in minors already in his debut, really well, he's going to become something. It's a post-game show, and the Angels radio guy on the Angels post-game show spent like 90 seconds talking about the Angels in the game because they were that bad. They were that lifeless. I'd rather lose 20-8. I'd rather lose 30-8 than 5-1 with 6 hits. And it's happened way too much. It's happened way too much. And we'll get to what this this will be my last time today having a rant about why Tyler Anderson should have been traded, because today is perfect evidence of it. Once again, we'll get to that. But the moral of the story is the offense just not good enough at all. Not good enough at all. And they fool you for a little bit. They kind of have been doing this thing lately where when they give up a run in an inning, they usually come back an inning or two later. And so they did that tonight. Tyler Anderson gave up the first run of the game in the top of the second, and the Angels responded with their only run of the game in the bottom of the second. The only inning where there's multiple hits, the only inning where there's 3 base runners. After a Taylor Ward flyout, you get a Mickey Moniak single, you get a Zach Neto hit by pitch, and then you get a Joe Adell single to score Moniak. Thank goodness he did something. But then what happens? He gets caught stealing, and then Guillerme strikes out with the runner on third. And that inning's over. The rally, the biggest rally of the day, is for one run. And then other than that, you do just about nothing. And unfortunately for Anderson, he gives up a run the very next inning. And that lead that became a tie game is right back to a Mets lead in a matter of minutes. And the Angels didn't do anything from there. So just so frustrating. So frustrating. And after the break, we'll talk about why it was even more frustrating, because Rengifo not only is not playing well, but he gets hurt again. And he didn't look healthy the whole game. Contributed to the injury, or to his struggles. He just wasn't, he's not healthy. He's not 100%, and you can tell. Real quick, we'll rush through this box score because it is ugly, and then we'll take our first break. Nolan Schanuel, the player of the game for the Angels, 2 for 4. Great. The average is up to 256. Like I said, the goal, he had such a bad start to the season. The goal was for him to get to 270. Maybe 280 by the end of the year. That would be great. He's a leadoff hitter. He's going to get a ton of at-bats. He's going to have an opportunity to have 4 or 5 at-bats a night. He can really rise that, grow that average, raise it up, increase it. I'm looking for the right word. And he did tonight, 2 for 4. He's up to 256. The OPS is 730. If him and O'Hoppe, and a dream would be if him, O'Hoppe, and Neto, all had over 800 OPSs. That would be great. Right now, O'Hoppe just below it at 799. Schanuel's at 730 and rising. Zach Neto at 738. Feels like he probably won't get there. I honestly think Nolan Schanuel has a better chance at this point of getting to 800. And I know that's just an arbitrary random number, but would be nice to see. Schanuel, I think he can get to 270 average on the year. That's very solid. He's shown a little bit more power this season. Multiple games in a row with the home run recently. So Schanuel, good job. Rengifo, we'll talk about him more. Drury comes in for him. And take a guess what happened. 0 for 2. And not only just 0 for 2, an extra bad 0 for 2 when you ground into a double play. He's now hitting 158 and literally should never play baseball again. O'Hoppe, not a great night. 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. He did reach with a walk. Calhoun, 0 for 4. He grounded into a double play. Taylor Ward, 1 for 3 with a walk. He didn't strike out, which is a miracle, but still not amazing. Moniak, the only great performance, 2 for 4. He had scored the only run of the game. Zach Neto 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts, not good. He also had a costly error. Jodell, he did have the only RBI of the game, 1 for 3 with the RBI, but he still gave you a strikeout. And then Luis Guillerme, he made a great play in the field, and it was a great play, but he's still, batting ninth and going 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts per usual. So with all that being said, we'll take our first break. Shout out to everybody in here. Appreciate all of the support, the constant viewers, the usual loyal people in here every night. I cannot overstate how much I appreciate all of you. Anaheim Angel, Daniel Barry, Jeff, Anthony Jimenez, Fudd Alex, and everyone else that comes in here. Appreciate you all so much. I'm going to take my first break here, and when I come back, we'll talk about Luis Rengifo, because that might be the biggest thing that happened tonight. Of course, the biggest thing is never good for the Angels, and it's usually an injury. We'll talk about it after our first break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. Now, once again, today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop, except sometimes maybe when the Angels play. But that's another story for another day. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But thankfully, FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long, and they mean it. Literally, I'll tell the story because I've told it multiple times, but it is really a story I enjoy to tell because it was one of the better experiences of my life. My week in New York, I go to a Liberty game. There's a promotion, new customers. If you bet $5 and he wins, then you get $200 in free bonus bets. I bet $5 on the Liberty. They won. I get $200 in free bonus bets. I basically put all those $200 on the Yankees to do well in a Yankees game I went to a couple days later, and they did. So I ended up leaving New York City, going to a Liberty game and a Yankees game for free and making money, actually. So there you go. Success story on FanDuel. If you want to be like me, head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. And today's show is also brought to you by Supply House. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. So, join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. Back here live in Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel. This is the Locked On Angels Postcast. I am Gavin Carlson, and I am in my bedroom. I am hot because I turned the fans off so there's no noise on the microphone. But you know who ain't hot? You know what ain't hot? The Angels offense. It's freezing cold, especially tonight. 6 hits only, and they're all singles. And even on the singles, you ground into 2 double plays and you get caught stealing. So just about as lifeless of an offensive performance as you can have. And honestly, a miracle that you got 1 run. This game was a lot closer than it should have been. The Mets left a lot of runners on base, a lot of runners in scoring position. You see 13-6 in the hits department with 2 costly Angels errors, and somehow it's only 5-1. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much you lose. It matters if you win or lose, and the Angels lost. They're now 16 games under 500, 46-63, and those A's are coming for us. Those A's, if the score is final, they crushed the Dodgers tonight, which is unbelievable. They did not end up crushing them. They did give up 3 runs in the top of the 9th inning, but the A's win 6-5. The A's are now 46-65, so they're literally like a game and a half back of the Halos. We're this close to being the worst team in the AL West, when just a couple weeks ago, we were like 7 games out of first place in the AL West. So yeah, just absolutely abysmal, absolutely rough stuff. You know what else is rough? When arguably your best hitter of the year, Luis Rengifo, keeps hurting his wrists. We know he's been on the DL multiple times, the IL, with the wrist issues, and tonight he had 2 at-bats. He struck out in both of them, and then he got pulled from the game. The issue, of course, the wrist. They called it wrist irritation, which is just a fancy way of saying he keeps hurting the same darn thing. In the bottom of the first, 2-2 at bat, and they start with a couple inside pitches because they know he can't get his wrists around, a down and in cutter and then an up and in cutter, and just like that, it's 0-2. They ended up getting him on a down and away changeup, but still, it's smart. Pitch this guy inside. He doesn't have the wrist right now to go, fight those inside pitches, turn on him and whatnot. And then in the bottom of the third, once again, basically inside stuff, down or down and then up and in on a cutter as well, and another strikeout. So in 3 innings, Rengifo strikes out twice, and then he irritates the wrist. Now, what do the Angels do with Rengifo at this point? Well, you got nothing to play for. Your whole team is hurt already. And honestly, Rengifo right now is ice cold. We don't know how much of it is because of the wrist. Certainly, I think some of it is because we know how hot he was before he got hurt. But at the end of the day, is there any need to rush Luis Rengifo? Of course not. So sit him down. They'll probably send him to IL again. He'll probably heal up in a week or 2. He'll probably come back. He'll probably re-irritate it, unfortunately. So maybe at this point, you just sit him out for 2 weeks and you say, hey, even if you feel 100%, we're going to wait another week after you feel 100% before you come back into this lineup, because at this point, it's like, then it's going to become a mental thing. Even if it is 100%, there's going to be a fear every time he goes up and swings that he's going to re-injure it. And then, oh gosh, hitting a baseball in the majors and the minors, anything, is already hard enough. But as we've seen with Taylor Ward running out of the bases when there's a high and in pitch a couple times after getting hit in the head, it's really hard to hit when there's stuff wrong mentally, when you're worrying about getting hit, when you're worried about, in this case, a wrist injury, and just simply swinging and feeling pain. So the moral of the story is Rengifo needs to be sat down. He needs to get to 150%, and not even 150% in Angel standards, like 350% in Angel standards, which probably is just 100% if we've known anything about our medical team and this organization. But yeah, real bad news there, just because at the very least, other than Mike Trout and I guess Rendon, although I don't consider Rendon a part of this lineup, other than Mike Trout, at this point, we know the team we have, and I would like to see some steps being made towards having a more set lineup every night. Of course, you're going to switch based on righty-lefty. You're going to give guys days off. But we see tonight Logan O'Hoppe get moved up to 3rd in the lineup, Taylor Ward down to 5th. hallelujah. Thank you, Ron Washington. That might be the only positive of the game, other than the one run, is the fact that Logan O'Hoppe is finally being rewarded for being probably the number 2, if not at this point, best hitter on the Angels. So I think him batting third is great. I think Taylor Ward batting fifth is much more reasonable. Moniak 6th looks good to me. Neto 7th looks good to me. Adele 8th looks good to me. Honestly, Adele 9th would be better, but yeah, I just want to see a more consistent lineup, and Rengifo, it would be nice to see him in there so you can get an idea of if next year it'll be Shanuel, Rengifo, O'Hoppe, and then eventually a Mike Trout, or maybe the ideal lineup is Shanuel, Rengifo, Mike Trout, O'Hoppe. But at the end of the day, want to see Rengifo hitting second, because that's what we're hopefully going to see for many years to come, since we decided not to cash in on him at the deadline. So hopefully he heals up in the meantime. Michael Stefanik come right back up into the lineup. He had a great game yesterday, I believe 2 for 4, if I remember correctly, in what was a crazy day for the Angels. But I'd like to see Stefanik get another chance. I feel like a lot of people have ruled him out. He's played so little that he goes 2 for 4, and just like that, he's hitting 250, and he's like the 5th best statistical hitter on the darn roster. So get him right back in there in the infield, hitting second, and hopefully him and Shanuel can stay hot at the top of the order. Hopefully we can get some more life from O'Hoppe, because I really hope Ron Washington doesn't see him go 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts in the third spot and then go, okay, we're going to take him out of that. No, leave him in there, and leave him in there for the rest of the year. Please do it. Please do it. We're going to take our last break here on the postcast. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about the Tyler Anderson start. We'll talk about the bullpen briefly, and we'll get to your comments as always, as we do on every single show. We'll take our last break, and we'll do all of that when we come right back. And finally, today's show is brought to you once again by the relatively new sponsor, Liquid IV. And boy, I love, like I said it yesterday, I love having a sponsor that I really, really enjoy, and that's certainly the case with Liquid IV. Get hydrated with electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients from the #1 powdered hydration brand in America, because baseball and summer go together like Liquid IV and indulgent hydration. If you don't know what Liquid IV is, it's just a powder. You pour it in, and unlike water, which of course refreshes you, Liquid IV has electrolytes, and it makes you even more hydrated. I use it at the gym. I literally do. I have a shake that I make in the gym, or before I go to the gym, but it's water, it's some Gatorade powder, which yes, also has electrolytes, but also has sugar. And then there's Liquid IV, which has a bunch of electrolytes. So highly recommend that you use Liquid IV, whether you're working out, whether it's just a hot day and you're dehydrated. It's the way to go. And also sometimes you just use it to taste, for taste. Water tastes good, but if you're just bored and you're going to drink a glass of water, why not throw in Liquid IV? It's going to A, be better for you, but B, just also taste better than plain water might. So I highly recommend you blast off with the iconic summer flavor, of Popsicle Firecracker, a festive blend of citrus-fueled lemon, lime, tart cherry, and raspberry flavors. That sounds amazing. But yeah, just tear, pour, and live more. 1 stick plus 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone, powered by LIV Hydroscience, an optimized ratio of electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients that turn ordinary water into extraordinary hydration. That's right, 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink. It's always non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, all that good stuff. So, no more thirsty summers when you indulge in hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to theliquidiv.com and use code MLB at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code MLB at liquidiv.com. Back here live, the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel. This is the Locked On Angels Postcast. I'm Gavin Carlson, and the Angels, as always, at least in recent memory, and recent memory being, as always, lose again. 5-1, the final, only 6 hits, all singles, bunch of double plays, bunch of, get caught stealings. Offensively, just an absolute disaster. The pitching was decent. 5 runs is not great. It's not terrible. We talked about the Mets already in this show being one of, if not the best, road offenses. Average-wise, they're number 2. And before I even continue, I just have to laugh. I peek at the comment section, of course, throughout the whole show. I have it up next to me. And then at the end of the show, I get to the comments. But when you say something as funny as this, I get distracted. Angels win. That is hilarious. It's painful, but it's hilarious. Maybe the Angels need some Liquid IV. Yeah, really, because lifeless, dehydrated offense for sure. Real quick, we'll talk about Tyler Anderson. like I said earlier, I thought he was okay. I thought he wasn't certainly terrible. 8 hits is not great. 8 hits in 5 innings. That's, the whip is getting pretty high there. He also had 2 walks. So 10 base runners in 5 innings is not great. 3 earned runs, though, despite that, is pretty good. He gave up the home run to Pete Alonso, who, that's what Pete Alonso does. He hits home runs, and it was, a pretty big fly. He hit that one, in the 3rd when it was already 1-1. The first run of the game came on a Francisco Alvarez single on a liner to left field with a runner on second and 1 out. And, he falls behind 3-0. You get all the way back to 3-2. You deserve credit for that. And then not a terrible 3-2 pitch, a changeup probably a little higher than you would like, but still down and away, still bottom right third of the strike zone. And Alvarez, a righty, able to kind of hit a little weak one into left field. We know Taylor Ward's never going to make a spectacular play, on anything shallow in left field. And that was able to score Jose Iglesias, who was on second base. The only other two runs that Anderson gave up were on the Pete Alonso home run. 1 out, runner on second once again. And it's just a first pitch cutter right down the middle, which is not good. Obviously, you're trying to get ahead when you got 1 out and a runner on second. You want to go, get it to 0-1, put some pressure on Pete Alonso. But when you throw a cutter right down the middle at 86 miles an hour to a righty who crushes lefties, who obviously has a huge bat, it's usually not good news, and it was not here. 113.8 exit velo, 421 feet, and just like that, it's 3-0. Now, obviously, the Angels did give up some more runs. A J.D. Martinez single off of Mike Baumann scored Harrison Bader, and had Francisco Lindor get to third, and then right after, a error by Zach Neto, really costly. You don't see it very often, but this one gave up another run. Francisco Lindor did score on that one. So the final stat line for the pitchers is Tyler Anderson, 5 innings, 8 hits, 3 runs, all earned, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, and that home run. Baumann was not great either. 3 hits, 2 runs, only one of them earned. He did have 2 strikeouts, but not great. Contreras was good, 5 strikeouts in 6 at-bats. In 6 outs, 7 at-bats, but 5 strikeouts in 2 innings. That's really good. Also just 1 hit. So nice to see him kind of settle down. We know he's been kind of all over the place. And then Jose Marte comes in the 9th, and honestly a pretty useless inning, but luckily he does his job. He gives up a hit, but he gets a strikeout. His ERA is quietly 2.87. That's actually pretty darn good and pretty darn surprising for Jose Marte. We'll get to your comments before we wrap this one up. And as always, we start with Jeff, who says another loss. We will get swept by the Mets. Sorry for being negative, but that is just how it has been this year. You don't have to apologize because you're not being negative. You're just being factual. You're usually good at predicting the sweeps. I mean, you usually say sweep every time. I'm going to say the Angels are going to win 1 in this series, hopefully. And I'm going to say it's tomorrow because my boy, Jose Soriano, will be on the mound. And hopefully, the only thing that can make me remotely positive this week would be a good start from Jose Soriano. So hopefully we get that. Anaheim Angel says, hey, Jeff, because yes, we love Jeff. And he adds, just hoping we don't lose 100. That's at this point the goal. And we'll see. We are now exactly 110 games in. 110 games in. Which means we got 52 left. And you can't lose 37 of 52. Doing really, really, really quick math, that means you can't lose like 75% of your games. Like, you can't go 1-3 in a 4-game series. And it's going to be close. I still don't think we'll get to 100. I don't think we'll get to 100. The moral of the story is you just got to win at least 1 game every series. Most series are 3 games. So if you can just go 1-2, you won't get to that magic 100 losses. So we will hope. Yo from Daniel Barry, as always, and I'm Angel adding, Adele getting caught stealing yet again. Seems like every time I see him on first, he gets caught. Yeah, and it's partially because, and I'm the biggest culprit of this. We beg Ron Washington, we beg this coaching staff to be aggressive on the bases because there's no life offensively. And Joe Adele, being one of your faster, most athletic players in the lineup, whenever he gets on, there's like a 50% chance he's going to go because you need him to go because it's the only way you generate offense. But here's the problem. The other team knows that as well. And so most of the times, Joe Adele does get caught stealing. Anthony Menace says, what up? Fud Alex says, what up? Angels win, says Mets just a much better team. Angels looked overmatched. And then Anaheim Angel goes, Angels look overmatched by most teams. So then Angels win responds with the funniest comment of the day that we already talked about. Maybe the Angels need some liquid IV. Certainly they probably do. And that might be more attention to detail that they give to their nutrition than they do right now based on all the injuries this team faces. But we're going to wrap this one up. For once, we're not going to 40 minutes or anything like that. We're right around the 30-minute mark, which I know you guys are spoiled because I give you like 36 every night, but it's supposed to be 30. It's honestly supposed to be like 28. But we always go over 30. We'll still go over 30 tonight because I care that much about you guys. But the Angels don't care about their fans. Another really bad game at home. 16 games under 500. Hopefully they can bounce back tomorrow. Like we said, now it's just the goals are don't get to 100 losses. Have your young guys play well, and now we have to start rooting for Tyler Anderson, Taylor Ward, Luis Rengifo, those type of guys to do well. Not because we're trying to boost their trade value, but because we are stuck with them. Not stuck, but they will be on our team for at least another year, so we need them to play well because they are just locked in Angels for now. This was the Locked On Angels Postcast. I'm Gavin Carlson. I'll be back here tomorrow, as I am after every single Angels game, and please make tomorrow a better one than today. It's already been way too painful of a week. But with all that being said, I'm going to sign off. Hey, it's the weekend. It doesn't even feel like it when you watch the Angels, but have a great rest of your Friday night. You still got a couple hours maybe before you go to bed. I certainly have probably 3 more hours before I think about bed. And then obviously Saturday, Sunday coming up. Have a great weekend, everybody. Spend some of that weekend with me back here on the Postcast tomorrow and throughout this series. All right, I'm Gavin Carlson. Angels lose 5-1 to the Mets. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And as always, even when we keep losing, go Angels. Take care, everyone.